Everybody looking pretty happy. So here we are at the end of June. Pond conditions are a little different this month than in the past. Had some algae problems during the month a couple times. I had blooms and had to use algae fix, much to my dismay. But the biggest problem was it was becoming real apparent that the rubberize-it, which had slowly been failing, was really getting in pretty sad shape. And now you can get an idea of just what I mean by that. It's really looking horrible. It's about the only word I can think of. It's hard to imagine these guys are still in business, but I see they still are, and they're still advertising pond linings. But I sure wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So anyways, here we are, almost have it drained. Hopefully today, tomorrow we'll have her dry as a bone and we'll start scraping that crap off. And hopefully in about a week, we'll get a nice polyurea sprayed on here and get everything rolling again, nice and clean. Hope all the folks are real happy getting back in that pond at that time, and they survive their little sojourn in my quarantine tank. And I got a show tank set up here as well for the 3 big ones. I had 3 more in there, but it became apparent this morning that wasn't going to cut the mustard. I'm hoping that the 3 large ones will be able to survive in there. We'll be checking the water quality again a little later today. See if the ammonia's gone down a little bit. Hopefully that filter will kick in. It's brand new media, so it's going to take a little while. And it's only, unfortunately, because of the elevation. It'd be nice if the show tank was set up a little higher, but I don't really have a way to do that, and so forth. And therefore the filler is only about 2/3 full, which doesn't help any. But I'm hoping it'll start kicking in. I haven't seen any nitrite yet. Maybe tomorrow, which will indicate things are starting to happen. And then hopefully after that, things will begin to progress a little more quickly. And we'll get that ammonia and nitrite down into reasonable levels. Until then, we won't be feeding them, and we'll be doing plenty of water changes. So see how that goes. We'll have some changes here in the filter house as well. Got to redo this little Y. This feeds the tangential jets, and unfortunately, I've got it on the UV circuit now, and I've decided that's not going to work out, mainly because it comes off the skimmer, and therefore whenever the feeder kicks in, which is maybe a dozen times a day or more, I shut the skimmer down for about 10 minutes so I don't lose all the feed down the skimmer. And I don't think turning that UV on and off is a particularly good idea, nor for that matter was it a real smart idea to throw it up here on the wall like this. So at any rate, once I get a new filter in here, it's going to be quite a bit shorter, as you can see, and therefore I'll be able to put the UV down in this corner, or perhaps up there, and probably up there a ways, and then I'll run it off of the right filter over there and get that Eric 3 out of here, and hopefully everything will run a little more smoothly. So looking forward to an exciting August here, or July, I guess. Don't want to get that far yet. An exciting August as well, but hopefully we got to get through August 1st or July 1st. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll get this baby back in tip-top shape. So I recently switched the media in the Endless River filter on my quarantine tank, a 500-gallon tank, from biomotion to biogravel. I wanted to see how it was going to work out, and it worked out real well, better than I could have possibly imagined. I started seeing nitrite after one day, and it wasn't very long, and everything was 0, and I started feeding again. And then along came this Pond Resealing Project, and I thought that was going to kind of screw up my testing. I was going to try to see how how much feeding I could do with that filter. I was up to about 2%, a little over 2% of body weight on the fish I had in here. But anyway, when I drained the tank, I had a lot more fish. So I'm running a horrendous fish load now, at least in my opinion, about 24 grams per gallon. That's just an estimate, of course, but gives me something to kind of go by. And I was able to continue feeding at the same rate as I was before, and still everything stayed at 0, 0. It's made me pretty happy, so I decided to push it a bit. Got it up to, oh golly, I was feeding 28 grams 4 times a day, which actually percentage-wise was only like about 0.6% with the number of fish in here. But I started seeing some nitrate then. I got about 0.2% now, or 0.2 parts per million. So I back off now to 16 grams 4 times a day. See if I can get that nitrate back down to 0. I'm hoping so. But anyway, it gives me a good chance to kind of give this baby an acid test, and so I'm pretty pleased with that. And this is the filter on the quarantine tank. It's an ER1, just one biomodule in there, and filled with biogravel now. And as I say, it's been doing much better than previous media. So very, very pleased with the results with biogravel. So I also set up my old show tank here to hold the 3 largest koi. And I think I put them in there with 3 others originally. And the first morning I came out, boy, the foam was like 6 inches high on that tank. I was just mortified, hoping I'd find everybody alive. They were, thank goodness. And so I took 3 of them out of there and put them in the quarantine tank, and did some water changes, flushed the filter and so forth. So this was a little prototype. This is when I first had this on the quarantine tank for a while, and I built this to first try out the BioHome media, the BioMotion, and I liked the results I got, and that's when I started selling BioHome media and all its varieties. But this time I filled it up with biogravel again, based on the results I had with the other filter. And again, the performance isn't bad considering what's going on. When I first saw that foam, I was thinking, my goodness, could they have possibly spawned? And I didn't see any sign of it at that time. But I noticed a couple days later, when I finally tightened up the cover on the thing, it was drooping down into the water, and I pulled it out, and then I saw eggs all over the place, and I realized that that was in fact the case, that the big Yamabuki had spewed eggs all over, so no wonder things were pretty nasty. And then it took me a couple more days to wake up and realize I had milled all over the bottom of the tank and inside of the filter. So this morning I gave the filter a nice rinse out, something I normally do on the others on a monthly basis, but since we had that spawning event, I give it a nice rinse out, and then I got the Pondovac out and got the big heavy coating off the bottom of the show tank. So hopefully now the water quality is going to improve fairly quickly. I started seeing nitrite in 3 days, which took me a little longer than I had hoped for, but I shouldn't be too disappointed because the tank is so low relative to the filter. The filter is really only operating at about half capacity. It's only about half full, where obviously it ought to be completely full. So given all that, it's doing fairly well. So I'm running fairly high levels now of ammonium nitrite in there, but once again, as has always been the case, reported with Eric and Endless River filter users, the koi seem to be perfectly happy. I certainly wouldn't want to do that forever, and I'm hopeful that in a week or so we'll see those readings come down substantially and then get to 0, and maybe I can give them a little food at that point. But at any rate, things are going fairly smoothly. They're swimming around happy as clams, and and I'm glad that I got that tank cleaned out so we can move on to other concerns, of which we've got a number. How about the only good thing I can say about the rubberized it is it comes off pretty easily. If your fish haven't already removed it, which is what I've seen in a number of tanks where it's hand applied, it peels off pretty readily once it gets in this shape, which took about, I guess, about 3 years after it was applied. It was sprayed on here at fairly substantial expense, and didn't hold up anywhere near as long as I would have hoped. But anyways, its days are numbered now, and hopefully in a couple weeks we'll have a nice fresh new coating on here, and get those fish back in here and move on to happier days. So anyway, the cleanup's coming along pretty well. Not my favorite job, that's for sure, but somebody's got to do it, so here we go. So we've been working on this about a week now, me and my trusty sidekick Justin, and had pretty much all of the rubberize it stripped off. Chris from the Pond Works was in here today and did a little work, got a little more stripped off here. Got this area all ready to go, and tomorrow he'll be back and start cementing in the border, the top of the rim, I guess. And then hopefully, maybe Friday, if we're lucky, if everything works out, we get all the parts we need and so forth, so on, we'll get this baby shot, and next week we'll have fish back in the pond, and that'd be super duper. That'd even almost be better than super duper. So anyways, stay tuned for part 2 of this thing. I think I'm going to wrap this up with this little episode, and then we'll take some shots of the final preparation and the shooting. Should look pretty slick.